problem that Professor Samuels gave us was that with the standard analog clock with the two dials, when it's 3 o'clock exactly, the two dials are at a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
So the question is, when is the next time that it'll be at a 90-degree angle?
Okay. Is there anything about like seconds? So we have to run the number to even numbers, integers, I mean.
I guess we could just do the minute time and sort of round it to the nearest minute.
All right. Anything?
Okay. Since there's only two
There's
hands
three clock,
on the clocks, so I think it's kind of like a speed and distance problem. Like,
Yep.
so first of all, I think we have to find out what's the ratio of the speed with respect to the two hand, and yeah, I think we can start from there.
Well, actually, what I'm thinking is that if we need to round it later on, we should probably just have a estimation. We don't need to like do the real ratio. We don't need to find out. It takes too long. I mean, if we just want the what is that estimate? We probably, if it's now it's 3 o'clock exactly, and if it's after another 90 degree, probably after 3:30 and before 3:35, right?
The BMCC math team is
Around, like,
it's a team that competes against other two-year schools in something called the Student Math League, which is organized by the American Mathematical Association for two-year colleges. And what we do on the math team is we train our students to compete in this competition. The competition is two parts. There's one round in the fall and one round in the spring. And it consists of basically a test, problems that are not standard mathematics problems that you would see in the classes that we teach. They are highly sophisticated problems. They require a lot of creativity. They transcend the genre of a specific mathematical subject. They're very challenging and they're very fun if you're the type of person who likes math problems.
I'm on the math team because I enjoy math, and although I don't like what I do in the classrooms as much, what we do on the math team is actually quite a lot of fun. It's sort of like puzzle solving. We get a variety of problems, which it's sort of interesting to find out like the right way to go about answering them, and it's not sort of the lifeless, repetitive problems that you do in math classes. And also it gives me a chance to better know my classmates, other people who are interested in math.
The question that we did in math team is really different than what we learned in school. It's not that like calculus. It's not that stuff. It's not calculus, statistic. It's more like daily. It's more everyday life question. It's something that you can always encounter in your everyday life, and but you never think of that it could be a problem. It could be that tricky.
Being in math club in my first semester, I got involved into the school quickly. When I first come here, I can't speak English good and don't know anybody here. But when I joined the math club, I really feel I got to make a lot of friends there and to become more confident in making friends with American people.
In the math team, basically, all of the problems more about logic other than math, and we don't. The skill we use in the test basically is not about the one you learn in college. If you're a high school graduate, probably you can do like most of them, and which is fun if you have like old people having the same interest. I mean, old people around you. I mean, you feel like it's not the same you learn in school or like in your like any of the calculus class.
What we are doing is really encouraging students in a number of to develop a number of approaches that are going to help them not just in math, but in life, in everything. The idea of tackling a problem with an open mind, tackling a problem with persistence, seeing it through and not being disturbed if they don't come to an easy solution immediately, but working through it and using all their skills, using everything they know until they get to a satisfactory solution.
Here's how the competition works. Our team, anybody's team, can incorporate as many students as we want to have on that team. but each student is taking their own individual test. They all get the same test. Everybody is working on it individually. And how our score is determined is that each student's score is graded, and the top 5 scores for any team are added, and they compose the team scores. So you may have on round 1, for example, students A, B, C, D, and E who get the top 5 scores, but round 2, it could be a different set of students, and we've often had that happen. One person, one semester may not do very well, and then the next time around, maybe they're on fire that day, and they get the top score.
We actually consistently do really, really well. The BMCC students consistently outpace the students of all the other community colleges in CUNY, and typically do right up there with the top 4-year schools in CUNY. So, for example, in the CUNY Math Challenge this past year, out of all of CUNY, one of our students finished 2nd overall.
Zhang Zhenyu, who goes by the name of King, there's an interesting story about his name. He came to this country fairly recently, and as would be the case with anyone who has not yet mastered the language and become fluent in it, he was intimidated by the challenge that one faces, or that he faced, in not having mastered English. And so he decided to call himself King because he felt that he needed that bit of boost to his self-esteem.
I like to be called King because when people call me King, I feel confident. That's the most important reason.
King is naturally very, he's blessed. King is blessed with a tremendous amount of innate mathematical ability. There's no question that in his native China, he had good teachers and studied mathematics with a great deal of discipline. But I think it's also clearly true that he is blessed with a very significant mathematical talent. I think he's an ambitious individual as well.
In order to help my English, I came to 42nd Street to talk to people because my speaking is really poor, and sometimes I feel trouble to talk to people.
Owen is the team veteran. Owen has been on the BMCC math team for a full 2 years. So in a sense, I kind of consider him the captain of the team. He is a young man who is, in a sense, older than his years. He's a very mature individual, and I think that he has interests in a whole bunch of different things, and that math is just one of his talents that he's decided to pursue out of a sense of responsibility to that side of himself.
Whenever we go over a problem after trying to solve it in the math team meetings, Professor George and Professor Samuels explain how to go about solving them, and often they'll refer to very general problem-solving methods, such as simplify it, take it down to the lowest level you can and look at the really simple examples. And there are various sort of ways of looking at problems which can be applied to tons of fields other than math, which we use in the math team and develop. Well, after I graduate from BMCC, I do plan to continue on with school. I'll probably go for a master's degree or even a PhD. Some careers I've considered are being an actuary, just being a mathematician, sort of doing research if I'm good enough. Maybe I could be a math teacher. And also I thought about working on Wall Street and just making a lot of money quickly.
Shengyan is also a very highly talented mathematics student. He is a very modest individual who does not is not interested in inflating himself or in attracting a lot of attention to his talent. Nevertheless, his mathematical abilities are profound.
I think BMCC is more than what it looked like. I mean, even though it's just a community college, but it's definitely not what it is. Respect to the title, that's what I mean. Because in BMCC you can find really interesting courses that the courses are really inspiring. I'm graduating next semester, and I hope I can go to medical school or step in the financing field. Cornell is one of my choice after BMCC. I hope I can get in there.
CC is also extremely talented. CC, I had the pleasure of actually having in my calculus class, and I can maybe be congratulated on perhaps luring her into the math team because she knew me. But CC is a wonderful young woman with a great charisma and a great personality who adds a touch of laughter and fun to the math team.
Professor Samuels and Professor George, they are both great professors, and they are teaching us like something other than the one you learn in class, and I would say it's tricks. I mean about the math and numbers. I'm graduating from BMCC, and I'm going to Baruch for my next semester. So.
We beat all two-year schools in the state of New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Connecticut.